All rise. I'll clear this courtroom and bring everybody back in if there's not order. You may be seated. Sorry, I get a little bit carried away with the power that I feel when I'm holding a wooden spoon, sitting on top of the chair, and that's also on top of the desk. Wait, I can touch the ceiling with my gavel. I don't want to fall. If I fall, like, will you guys? What would you guys do?
I would try to catch you. And then I would start to
I kind of want to just like tip off the side of the desk just to see if it would help me.
Well, I'm not close enough. It's called Alex Sanchez.
All right. Courtney Golson, you come up to the stand. This is continuing testimony number 22. And at this point, if you guys would like to resume your cross-examination, come on up.
Are you doing this fine morning?
Needs to be quiet. Go ahead.
So, one thing I wanted to question now, I wasn't here when your first time you were on the stand, but why, over the course of the abuse, when he was at work, did you not call the police?
He always told me not to.
But even if he was at work, even if he couldn't get his hands on you at that time, you couldn't have called the police?
He could have later.
He could have, but don't you think that if you talked to the police, they would have given you some defense, so they wouldn't, so they would know that, oh, if he comes back, he's probably going to hit her? You don't think that they would have foreseen that?
I don't know. He always said that if I called the police, he would give me back either way.
But you do not think it was logical at all that you could have called the police when he wasn't anywhere near you?
I could have, but I was scared too.
You could have, but you were scared too. So, essentially, the defendant is saying that she had other means in which to prevent any possible abuse, this stuff that she's supposedly has happened. She had other means to prevent it, but chose not to. Now, can you tell me, at that moment, can you recall to me what happened between 5 minutes before you poisoned his drink?
We were arguing. He had a knife to my throat.
Knife to your throat. So was it touching you?
Yes.
It was touching you? Okay, and then why did he leave? Where did he go?
I promised that I wouldn't leave, and so he put me down in MT135.
And then you ran and got the potassium cyanide from your gardening shed, correct?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Now, when he consumed the beverage, was he sitting down?
Yes.
Okay. So at that time, he was not abusing you. When you poisoned his drink, he was not abusing you.
Technically, no.
Technically, no. Self-defense means at that moment of peril, that means at a moment of peril, you acted to prevent any abuse. At the time she poisoned the drink, she was not being abused. She clearly said she wasn't thinking straight. So we're trusting someone who could very well be exaggerating her situation. And this does not qualify as self-defense. Regardless of if there was abuse if abuse was present, at the time she poisoned the drink, there was no abuse. This trial is not whether or not Gino was an abusive man. This is not the trial. The trial is whether she acted justly in poisoning his drink. But she did not, because he was not hitting her. He was not even threatening her at the time. She simply poisoned the drink. Okay. She was simply poisoning the drink for some motive, and it was not because he was abusing her.
Objection. Didn't she say that there was some threats and it was prior to those? There was.
Well, correct. But what he's saying is at the time, whether they're, I mean, it's getting down to what this trial is about or is about. At the time, was she being abused or was she not? And he's making the point that she wasn't. Yes, there were threats all along the way, but he's trying to make the point that at the time that is absolutely in question, there were no threats going on. Am I following?
That's
Now, what is your question?
Is it finding out if it's self-defense or premeditated?
Miss, that's up for your, I mean, that's what your attorneys are exactly trying to decide. I'm simply here trying to maintain order in the courtroom.
See,
Your attorneys are the ones who are deciding what they're going to find you guilty or innocent of, not me.
I'm just kidding.
Now, do you have any further questions?
I'd just like to point out something. What you guys are trying to do is establish this as justifiable homicide due to self-defense. Now, what we have found is self-defense was not necessary. Self-defense does not apply to the situation. So the whole ruling of justifiable homicide is thrown out the window. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Do you have any more questions for the witness?
Yes.
The witness, I mean.
Excuse me, guys. Is that All right. Can you please describe the state that you were in, like your emotions and what you were feeling in that moment, in the moment of peril, as you were saying?
I was really scared.
And would you say that a moment of peril is not in the immediate 1 minute, but it could be in a span of like 5 to 10 minutes as well? And the reason why, can you please tell us the main reason why that you did not go to the police?
Because he would always say that he would get me back eventually, or he would hurt me more if I called the police.
So you did fear for your life and you felt like the police wouldn't help, and you felt like he would still get you, even if you were in the police's hands. You felt that way, even if it's not a rational maybe thought. But if she's scared, if she's really afraid, not in the moment, but with the police thing, like in the past times, if she was that scared to think that the police would not help her, that is a real thing that was occurring in her mind. And so we can't minimize her feelings and minimize the fear that was present.
You can be seated. Be seated. Defense, would you like to call your next witness? Riley, come on up. This will be testimony number 23. Riley Dwyer. Officer Stravala, this is your final warning. You'll be asked to leave the courtroom and held in contempt. You may begin questioning.
So Riley, you know about Courtney. You know her pretty well, correct?
Yeah.
So you know about that there has been some issues going on in her family recently?
Yep.
What is one of the issues?
Well, her husband Gino, she talks about him being abusive a lot, and I see it firsthand.
What is an example of a time that you've seen it firsthand?
He sent a lot of threatening texts to her that I've seen, and I've seen bruises on her body and cuts from abuse.
Was there ever a time that you were in the room and present when there was abuse happening? What other issues were there going on besides abuse?
I know that Gino they were moving to their new house. They had trusted a scam company with their furniture. And the scam company had held their furniture like almost like ransom, like you do as a person. And I know that they had to pay a ton of money to get that back, and that's why Gino was really worked up because of financial problems.
So there was a lot of financial problems going on as well. How would you describe Courtney's personality?
She was really timid, and just recently at least, she was really timid, and she had gotten more like apologetic almost. She'd been apologizing a lot to stuff that she really didn't even need to.
Did she ever express any anger, or did she only express her because of when she explained the abuse?
No anger, just mostly hurt and just apologetic, I guess.
So like the witness said, her personality type was she was very timid, she was very apologetic, she was feeling hurt instead of the anger. And usually when you have a premeditated murder, you have some anger or a sense of revenge or something in that sense. and it said she was just feeling hurt and feeling guilty about what she was feeling, as if the guilt was her, as if the abuse was her fault, and that she was guilty. So because of that, she wouldn't have premeditated and purposely killed her husband. No further questions.
How are you doing this one?
Pretty good.
Can you tell me, what do you do for a living?
I just work in a financial firm.
You work in a financial firm, so can you tell me your average annual income?
That's a good one. Around $100,000 a year.
$100,000. So, it'd be fair to say that's a fair bit of money there.
That's, yeah, it's like
You can make ends
middle
meet,
upper
you
class
can,
around there somewhere.
Middle upper class.
I can make
I'd
ends.
actually put that even maybe. Yeah, upper class. Yeah.
I was right.
Okay, I'm reaching my point. Okay, so you recently had an affair with Mrs. Golson, did you not?
Yep.
Now, I'd just like to point out to the court that it is obvious that the Golson family was suffering from some financial strife, and Mrs. Golson did not have health care. Now, I'd say that going around and being with a wealthy man such as yourself would upper middle class, which is still pretty good these days. I would say that I think that'd be extremely beneficial to be with a man of such financial status. And don't you think that you would be able to afford to pay for her health care? And don't you think that you would be able to afford her lifestyle that she would like to live? Since you are upper middle class.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Okay, so there's that possibility there. So then, wouldn't the quickest way, if Gino was so-called abusive and wouldn't want to accept a divorce, be to just get rid of him?
I guess.
Oh, you guess.
Okay.
Okay, so basically what we've established here is that thank you. We've established that Mrs. Goldson could not simply divorce her husband because of the so-called abuse. And she wanted to get with someone who would be able to provide the lifestyle that she would enjoy, be able to afford health care. And she went with this upper middle class man to afford her style of life. And the only way to get rid of Gino without any resentment, any aggression that he so-called has, is to murder him and claim it as self-defense. No further questions, John. Here you go.
You may be seated. Do you have any more witnesses you'd like to call to the stand? Call Anna Reyes to the stand. This is testimony number 24.
What was your relationship with Courtney?
We were best friends and cousins.
What did you know about Gino?
He was very controlling. I mean, to me it seemed like he just controlled her the whole year with his abuse. And he would sabotage her efforts to get a job. Some ways he would do that, call the people that would want to hire her for an interview or whatever, and cancel it or cancel her applications or something. He was really controlling.
So that could also be the means of financial problems that he didn't allow her to get a job. Why did you give her the cyanide?
I gave it to her because it was her psychologist recommended it for her to make a garden. So I knew that it would help in garden, so I made some for her and gave it to her.
How did you acquire the cyanide?
I made it and I got some ingredients. I ordered some.
Where did you order it?
I ordered it through the internet.
So this is a completely legal process that she went through to acquire the cyanide just to help Courtney. How was Courtney Courtney able to keep up the garden with her financial problems?
I would help her out. But the garden would help her, and I really I wanted to help her, and that was one way I would help her. So I helped her with those financials with that.
See, Anna just wanted to help Courtney. That's all she wanted to do. She's being put on trial for a completely legal process just to help a friend in need. And Courtney wanted to keep a stable life with her husband. She didn't want to fight, but he prevented her from doing things. He controlled her life every step of the way. She wanted to fix things, but he wouldn't let her. She wasn't able to do this. She was treated as more of an object or property to him, not as someone who you love. His behavior towards her was two-faced. What did he say to his friends rather than what did he say to her? They were different?
They were much different, like from her and her, like his attitude towards her and his attitude towards her and his attitude towards his friends were he was more respectful to his friends and he didn't really treat his wife like a wife and somebody that he should love and as a partner and somebody that should help around with like all the responsibilities and he would mostly tell his friends that they were like that she was the problem and that she was such a burden when he just caused that burden, so-called burden.
See, Gino, he caused her trauma by telling people things that, knowing that they would accuse her of lying because the friends that he trusted were going to believe him. She was already traumatized by this experience. She already felt threatened and possessed. That put her in a mental state where she was capable of doing something out of self-defense to help herself get out of this situation. Courtney came to your house after the murder that night, true? What did she tell you about what happened?
Well, she was really shaken up when she came to the house. She was just in shock and she didn't know what to do. She just needed someone to be with because she was scared. And he really freaked her out. She told me that he was threatening her life. It was worse than any of their abuse that she had. And he was really. She told me that he was just really serious about everything. He was threatening her life. And as she told me, and as she told you, that he had a knife against her neck, and I could just tell that she was really traumatized.
She was scared and shaken up. Why would she come home and lie to her best friend, her little sister? That's what they called each other. Why would they lie about this? They wouldn't. So in her moment of peril, where she is damaged, she is threatened, she comes home and she confides in her and tells her the truth. She was threatened. She had immediate danger, such as the knife to her neck. She didn't know what to do. Alex, would you like to continue?
Okay, let's just get one thing straight here. Courtney herself said that he had lowered the knife that was at her neck, and that he had calmed down after she said that, oh, I will stay with you. So this whole moment of peril thing was not true, because she was not in a moment of peril because he had calmed down, and then she chose to poison him. So this is not self-defense. So let's get that straight. Second, now when you gave Mrs. Golson the potassium cyanide, did you know what she was going to use it for?
For a garden.
For a
Yes,
garden.
That's what I expected.
Okay. And when you said that she was, and how do you know all this stuff about Gino? How many times have you met him?
I haven't met him,
You haven't met him,
but Courtney would tell me.
but Courtney would tell you. So we're trusting the word of mouth of someone who's purposely trying to paint Gino in a negative light. So there's obviously some bias going on here. And how do you know all this stuff about what he tells his friends?
She would tell me.
She would tell you. And did she ever see his friends? No. Did she have any contact with his friends while he was there and what he was saying to his friends? No. This is all conjecture. None of this is true. And we can't use this to blame a dead man who's not here to defend himself for a heinous act whereas the defendant is the one who committed the heinous act.
Wait, objection, Your Honor. Isn't there? We do have legitimate proof, though, like from our packet, that there was abuse, so it's not all.
Your abuse,
As
your
you said.
evidence of abuse is
He's-
simply through the damage in the house, correct?
Well, yes, you do have actual evidence. I believe what he's referring to is the word of mouth that's being talked about right now.
Yeah,
Correct.
like all the stuff she
Are you
said.
denying that there's
Yeah.
Are you trying to deny that there has been
I'm
abuse
saying
in
that
general?
the possibility of abuse was present. But I'm saying that we're trusting the words of people who have the possibility of exaggerating what happened.
Okay, what he's trying to do is call into question the credibility of the people that are speaking, not deny the fact of it that there was abuse at all. Continue.
Yeah, definitely. Gino had the possibility of being an abusive man. But at the time of the crime, she was not being abused. So when you say there was a moment of peril, there was not, because she specifically said that he was calming down. You said that he put you down and went to the bathroom.
Objection. She didn't say he was coming down.
Objection sustained. She did at the moment that you're referring to. The record shows that he lowered the knife and went to the restroom. That's all the record shows.
Did
To
she
assume
not
that he had
say-
calmed down is conjecture on your part, sir.
Did she not say that? Oh, she put her down, and he was satisfied after you said, "I'll stay with you," because that's what I recall hearing.
The record. Well, okay. So when you say satisfied, what do you mean by
he
that?
wasn't showing any more aggression at that point.
That has not been proven. Yes or no?
Okay.
Okay, the fact that he had not been showing any more aggression, that has not been proven.
Okay.
All that's been brought out is that he lowered the knife and went to the restroom.
Okay. Now, so you had no idea what that this whole thing of murder was gonna play in. No. And you said that Gino controlled Mrs. Golson. Can you tell me how you know that and in what ways?
He said he controlled her with fear. Not like controlling. With fear, he would just scare her. With abuse that we have already established, that there was. Like, how could you not be scared if somebody's abusing you and threatening you? And he used her fear to control her, like, her not to go to the police or her to keep quiet.
No, personally, don't you think that when he was at work that she could have called the police? He didn't have the ability to put his hands on her at that time.
She was scared.
Well, why would you be scared to go to someone? Did she ever express to you the reason why she was scared to go to the police? Aside from the fact that he threatened her, do you think, did she ever tell you of any hindrance of her being able to go to the police while he was at work?
Objection, Your Honor. I feel like the question has already been answered. We've already said multiple times in the trial that she was scared and that he threatened her before with the police and said, if you go to the police, I will still hunt you down. And that was what she was
The
scared. So we already
the
answered.
question's been asked, but the question hasn't been asked to this particular witness. So I'd like to hear her answer this question. See if she felt that going to the police is possible.
Well, like, going to the police, yeah, that's specific. Well, she was just too scared that, she was just scared that the police wouldn't, like, do enough to help her.
Okay, and I understand abuse can cause fear in a person, but fear should not guide one's decisions all the time, especially when it comes to life and death situations. The defendant's attorney specifically said her decisions may not have been rational, and I'm directly quoting what she said.
Objection, Your Honor. I wasn't. Objection. I wasn't talking about. When I said that, I wasn't referring to the moment of the incident. I was referring to her passing when he was talking about going to the police, you know. And he said she didn't want to go to the police all the other times, and that may not have been like she was physically able to go to the police, but like rationally she was not.
But you agree that you said that not all the decisions she has made have been rational.
I wasn't referring to the moment of the crime.
I'm not either. I'm referring to her decisions to not go to the police.
So what's the problem here?
was just saying that it was referring to the crime. Okay.
I don't believe. Well, okay. So to clarify, he just said that he wasn't referring to the crime. He
If
was
that's
talking
what it
about-
made
he's
you
just
feel
talking
like,
about her
I'm sorry,
past.
that's not what I meant.
She's talking about her past.
Yeah.
Please continue.
She did not go to the police because she was not thinking rationally. Okay? And when it comes to life and death situations, and when it comes to self-defense, if you have other means of preventing abuse, then you go to those means without having to cause any murder. So this is not self-defense. And they helped me in this point to show that at the time she poisoned, she was not being abused, he was in the bathroom. Okay? And she had other options, and she chose not to take them. She had direct motive, and I understand you had no idea what she was going to do with that, but I also understand that a lot of the reasons that you think Gino was abusive are just through word of mouth. Thank you so much.
You may be seated. Oh, I'm sorry.
My bad. Yeah,
Please continue.
you work at the pharmacy, correct? Okay. How long have you been working there? Okay. And what is your job? What do you do?
I do look out for medication.
And so I heard my friend, Mr. Warrior. My friend, Mr. Warrior, recently told me that you were stocking the shelves. That's not your job, correct? Okay, so why were you stocking the shelves?
Because they were done wrong and I was organizing. It's not my job, it should have been somebody else's.
And you know, and since you were stocking the shelves, would you know about the missing cyanide, the missing acetylene out there that my friend Mr. Warrior told me that was missing after the weekly in Georgia. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I was aware of it.
Okay, do you know how someone could have obtained it?
Well, they could have just taken it.
Objection, Your Honor. It never, the paper says that it never was proven that it just said that stuff was missing, but it did say that she took it.
Am I saying she took it?
No.
What do
What
you
are you trying to prove?
I just,
What is he trying to prove?
I was wondering, I want to see if maybe if she stole from it.
Yeah, so she is.
So you are trying.
So you're trying to prove.
Yeah.
So you're trying to prove she stole anything from the pharmacy?
I'm wondering if that would be a possibility.
That's not. She didn't steal anything from the pharmacy.
And then so you said you could potassium cyanide that you obtained it from a website, correct?
I have the ingredients.
And so when did you give it to Sue?
Month and a half ago.
And so you said that she didn't know what she was going to do with it, correct? Okay. And so you thought she was just going to use it for guiding?
Objection, Your
I have a question.
Objection.
Never mind, she's done now.
You can do your objection.
Go ahead.
But he said no further questions, so I was going to ask if we already answered. I was going to say that we already answered these questions.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. You may be seated then, and then
I just have a couple.
quickly.
Yeah. So, what does this potassium cyanide do for gardening? Can you tell me, like, how's it beneficial?
I don't know, like, specifically, though, because, I don't know specifically.
The ingredients that are used to make whatever this thing is, couldn't you just buy them directly from, like, any store, just as that product itself?
Oh, the potassium cyanide, like, as potassium cyanide.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure, I just, made it.
Okay. Well, I just find it curious that if it's something that's beneficial to gardening, you couldn't find it at a gardening store and you have to make it yourself. But that's all I have to say.
Okay, you may be seated. Sir. And stuff?
Yeah.
You can leave in 2 minutes. We still have 6 minutes left in the period. Okay. Do you have any more witnesses you want to call?
Yes, we like to call. We like.
14.
Okay, this will be your last witness of the day.
Okay.
Get ready.
You have 4 minutes.
24.
Alright, first of all.
Yes. Wait. This is testimony number 25 is what this will be. Go ahead.
Alright, first of all, I'd like to ask, do you know what the cyanide does with the gardening?
Yes, it's supposed to make the soil more nutrient and help the flowers grow.
Alright, thank you. Just so that's all clear to everyone. Also, I'd like to go back to the more relevant case. And how did you feel about your husband?
I really loved him when we first got together, but after he started abusing me, my love for him started to fade.
Did you ever have any thoughts of killing him beforehand?
No.
Did you ever have any thoughts of maybe instead of killing him, do you ever have any suicidal thoughts?
Yes, I have.
And this proves also that there is more guilt and more hurt and more feeling of killing herself, and that she was taking the blame instead of putting the blame on Gino. Also, what was your happiest? Do you have a happy memory? Any happy memories with Gino earlier before the abuse happened?
Probably the only one I can think of is probably our wedding.
This just proves that she did still have some sort of love towards him, so she would not have premeditated, she would not have killed him, and thought of that she would not have, what I'm trying to say is she would not have premeditated and decided to kill him as our opponents are trying to state. Also,
Okay, quickly, so the prosecution has a chance to cross-examine. This witness has been called up many times. So do you have anything else new that you'd like to?
no further questions.
Okay, quickly.
Okay, so can you tell me if you put the potassium cyanide directly into the soda? Did you just put it in?
Mix it.
Mix it. Okay. Okay. Good. Now, you said you only had one. Did you still care for Gino, even when you poisoned him? Did you still love him?
Yes.
Yes, but you said that love is fading.
That doesn't mean that it's completely gone.
But you wouldn't say did you feel any resentment towards him? Did you want to be liberated from this abuse?
I didn't feel resentment towards him. I just didn't want to hurt him.
But the second question, would you feel liberated if Gino was no longer in your life? If that abuse was gone?
I would feel much happier.
But would you feel free? You said the defense's case has been that, he was controlling you. Would you feel free? Would you feel liberated if he was gone?
Yes.
Yes. Okay? She wanted him gone. She was desperate for this freedom, desperate to be out of control from her husband. And what's the quickest way to do this? What's the quickest, no hassle way, no divorce way to get through this? It's through using self-defense to kill him. Do you think that if you asked for a divorce, Gino would be willing?
I don't know.
Probably no. So the only way to leave him would be to just get rid of him, or call the cops, which is what you should have done, but you didn't call the police. You couldn't ask for a divorce. So what's the only way to get rid of him? You had an intimate relationship with another person. What's the only way to get rid of him? Through this whole concoction of self-defense. Now, can you tell me,
Quickly, sir.
how long did you have this relationship with Mr. Riley there?
I haven't been for long, but I've known him for years.
Known him for years. And did you love him? Do you love him? You don't love him? But do you want to be with him?
I don't know.
You don't know. I had a little hint of doubt there, which makes me feel that you do in fact want to be with him, and you just don't.
I
You just
never
don't
said
know
that.
There's a hint of doubt. Okay, fine. You did not say that.
You did not say that.
You did not say that. You did not say that. Fine. But there's hesitation. That's all I want to point out is you had a relationship with Riley. He's a wealthy man. And
Upper middle class.
upper middle class. No further questions.
You may have loved him before he gave that testimony. but not anymore. Yes.